Transients in Arcadia. There is a hotel on Broadway that has escaped discovery by the summer resort's promoters. It is deep and wide and cool. Its rooms are finished in dark oak of a low temperature. Homemade breezes and deep green shrubbery give it the delights without the inconvenience of the Adirondacks. One can mount its broad staircases or glide dreamily upward in its aerial elevators, attended by guides in brass bottoms, with a scenery joy that elfin climbers have never attained. There is a chef in the kitchen who will prepare for your brook throat better than the White Mountains ever served. Sea food that would turn out Point Comfort by Gus Sach. Green White Envy, the many veneers that would melt the official heart on a game warden. If you have found out this oasis in the July desert of Manhattan, during that month you will see that hotels reduced arrival, all guides scattered luxuriously about in the cool twilights of its lofty dining room, gazing at one another across the snowy waste of unoccupied table, silently congratulatory. Superfluous, watchful, phonetically moving waiters hover near, sampling every word before it is expressed. The temperature is perpetual April. The ceiling is painted in watercolor to counterfeit a summer sky across which delicate clouds drift and do not vanish as those of nature do to our regret. The place in distant roar of Broadway is transformed in the imagination of the happy guest to the noise of waterfall filling the woods with its pasteful sounds. At every strange footstep their gusts turn an anxious ear, fearful lest an retreat be discovered and invaded by the restless pleasure-seekers who are forever hounding nature to her deepest layers. Thus, in the depopulated caravansary, the little band of connoisseurs jealously bide themselves during the heat season, enjoying to the uttermost the delights of mountain and seashore that art and skill have gathered and served to them. In this July came to the hotel one whose card that she sent to the clerk for her name to be registered read, "Ma Hellows Darcy Beaumont." Madame Beaumont was a guest such as a hotel lotus loved. She possesses the fine air of the elite, tempered and sweetened by a cordial graciousness that made the hotel employers her slaves. Bellboys found for her honor and answering her ring. The clerks, but for the question of ownership, would have deeded to the hotel and its contents. The other guests regarded her as the final touch of feminine exclusive and beauty that rendered the entourage perfect. This super excellent guest rarely left the hotel. Her habits were consonant with the custom of the discriminating patrons of the Hotel Lotus. To enjoy the delectable hostelry, one must forego the city as though it were leagues away, By night, a brief excursion to the nearby roofs is in order, but during the torrid day one remains in the umbrageous fastnesses of the lotus as a rod hangs poised in the palisade. Sanctuaries of his favorite pool. Though alone in the Hotel Lotus, Madame Beaumont preserved the state of a queen whose lone lines was a position only. She breakfasted at 10, a cool, sweet, leisurely, delicate being who glowed softly in the dimness like a jasmine flower in the dark. But at dinner was Madame's glory at its height. She wore a gown as beautiful and immediate as the mist from the unceased cataract in a mountain's gorge. The nomenclature of this gown is beyond the guess of the scribe. Always pale red roses reposed against its race garnished front. It was a ground that the head waiter viewed with respect and met at the door. You thought of Paris when you saw it, and maybe of Mr. Roy's countesses, and certainly of Versailles and Rapiers and Mrs. Firskell and Road at Nor. There was an untraceable rumor in the Hotel Lotus that Madame was a cosmopolite and that she was pulling with her slender white bands certain trade between the nations in the favor of Russia. Being a citizen of the world's smoothest roads in was small wonder that she was quick to recognize in the refined pearls of the Hotel Lotus as the most desirable spot in America for a restful sojourn during the heat of midsummer. On the third day of Madame's Beaumont's residence in the hotel, a young man entered and registered himself as a guest. His closing to speak of his points in approved order was quietly in the mood. His features good, the regular, his expressions that is a poised and sophisticated man of the world. He informed the clerk that he would remain 3 or 4 days, inquired concerning the sailing of European steamships, and sank into the blissful inanition of the non-payroll hotel with the contents air of a traveller in his favorite inn. The young man, not to question the veracity of the register, was Harold Farrington. He drifted into the exclusive and calm current of his of life in the Lotus to tactfully and silently that not a ripple alarmed his fellow seekers after rest. He ate in the Lotus and of its patronum, and was lulled into blissful peace with the other fortunate mariners. In one day he escorted his table and his waiter, and the fear lest the painting shares after repose that kept Broadway warm should pounce upon the destroy his contiguous but covered head. After dinner on the next day after the arrival of Harold Farrington, Madame Beaumont dropped her handkerchief in passing out. Mr. Farrington recovered and returned it without the effusiveness of a seeker after acquaintance. Perhaps there was a mystic frimonry between the discrimination guests of the Lotus. Perhaps they were drawn one to another by the fact of their common good furniture in discovering the acme of summer resorts in a Broadway hotel, was delicate in courtesy and tentative in departure from formality passed between the two, and if in the expedient atmosphere of a real summer resort, an acquainted grove, flowered and fructified on the spot, as does the mystic plant in the Conjurer. For a few moments they stood on a balcony upon which the corridor ended, and toasted the feathery bowl of conversation. "One tires of the old resorts," said Madame Beaumont with a faint but sweet smile. "What is the use to fly to the mountains of the seashore to escape noise and dust when the very people that make both follow us there? Even on the ocean," remarked Farrington sadly, "the Philistines be upon you. The most exclusive steamers are getting to be scarcely more than ferry boats. Heaven helps us when the summer resorters discover that the Lotus is further away from Broadway than Thousand Islands and or Mackinac. I hope our secret will be safe for a week, anyhow," said Madame, with a sigh and a smile. "I do not know where I would go if they should descend upon the dear Lotus. I know of but one place so delightful in summer, and that is the castle of Count Polinsky in the Ural Mountains. I hear that Baden-Baden and Canal are most deserted this season," said Farrington. "Year by year the old resorts fall in disrepute. Perhaps many others, like other worlds, are thinking out the quiet nooks that are overlooked by the majority. I promised myself 3 days more of this delicious rest," said Madame Beaumont. "On Monday and Kedrick sails." Harold Farrington's eyes proclaimed his regret. "I too must leave on Monday," he said, "but I do not do abroad." Madame Beaumont uh, shrugged one round shoulder in a foreign gesture. "One cannot bide here forever, charming though it may be. The treaty has been in preparation for me longer than a month. Those hours parties that one must give, that a nuisance, but I shall never forget my week in the Hotel Lotus." "Nor shall I," said Farrington in a low voice, "and I shall never forgive the Kedrick." On Saturday evening, 3 days afterward, the two sat off at a little table on the same balcony. A discreet waiter brought ice and small glasses to claret cup. Madame Beaumont wore the same beautiful evening gown that she had worn each day at dinner. She simmered thoughtfully. Near her hand on the table lay a small titillated purse. After she had eaten her ice, she opened the purse and took out a $1 bill. "Mr. Farrington," she said, with a smile that had won the Hotel Lotus, "I want to tell you something. I'm going to leave before breakfast in the morning, because I've got to go back to my work. I am behind the hosiery counter at Castle Moment's store, and my vacation's up at 8 o'clock tomorrow. That paper dollar is the last cent I'll see till I draw my $8 salary next Saturday night. You're a real gentleman. You'll be good to me. And I wanted to tell you before I went. I have been saving up out of my wage for a year just for this vacation. I wanted to spend 1 week like a lady if I never do another one. I wanted to get up when I pleased instead of having to crawl out at 7 every morning, and I wanted to live on the best and be waited on and write bells for things just like rich folk do. Now I've done it, and I've had a happiest time I ever expect to have in my life. I'm going back to my work and my little whole bedroom satisfied for another year. I wanted to tell you about it, Mr. Farrington, because I thought you kind of liked me, and I liked you, but oh, I couldn't help deceiving you up till now, for it was all just like a fairy tale to me. So I talked about Europe and the things I've read about in other countries, and made you think I was a great lady. This dress I've got on is the only one I have that's fit to wear. I bought from O'Donnell's and Levinsky on the installment plan. $75 is the price, and it was made to measure. I paid $10 down, and they've to collect $1 a week till it's paid for. That's be about all I have to say, Mr. Farrington, except that my name is Mamie Civeter instead of Madame Beaumont, and I thank you for your attentions. This dollar will pay the installments due on the dress tomorrow. I guess I'll go up to my room now. Harold Farrington listened to the recital of the Lotus Lovelace guest with an impassive countenance. When she had concluded, he drew a small book like a checkbook from its coat pocket. He wrote upon a blank form in this with a stub of pencils, tore out of leaf, tossed it in over to his companion, and took up the paper dollar. "I've got to go to work, too, in the morning," he said, "and I might as well begin now. There's a receipt for the dollar installment. I've been a collector for Down Lehinsky for the 3 years. Funny, ain't it, that you and me both had the same idea about spending our vacation? I've always wanted to pull up at a swell hotel, and I saved up out of my 20 per, and didn't it? Say, Mame, how about a trip to Coney Saturday night on the boat? What?" The face of the President Madame Heloise D'Arcy Beaumont beamed. "Oh, you bet I'll go, Mr. Farrington. The store closed at 12 on Saturday. I guess Coney'll be all right, even if we did spend a week with the swells." Below the balcony, the sweltering city growled and buzzed in the July night. Inside the Hotel Lotus, the temperate, cool shadows reigned, and the Solutions water a single footer near the hall windows, ready at a nod to show Madame and her escort. At the door of the elevator, Farrington took his leave, and Madame Beaumont made her last ascent. But before they reached the noiseless cage, Bee said, "Just forget that Harold Farrington, will you? McManus is the name, James McManus. "So, call me Jimmy." "Good night, Jimmy," said Madame.